It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. And I would like to welcome a brand new sponsor. This is the first time we're introducing this brand new sponsor to you here. Phoebe Said is an independent chocolatier with Dove Chocolate Discoveries, which is a registered trademark of Mars Incorporated. Dove makes the finest, silky smooth chocolate because the products start with the best cocoa beans, which are tested for quality and flavor by expert Mars technicians. They offer not just premium chocolates, but anything from sauces, spices, to brownie and cake mixes, and even coffee and martini mixes. If you wish to treat yourself or someone you love to a sweet and tasty gift, then Dove Chocolate Discoveries is the brand for you. Now, you got to visit Phoebe's site. You can't just look up Dove Chocolate Discoveries. You got to look up Phoebe's site. And her site is, she's the one sponsoring this ad. Her site is mydcsite.com/Phoebe Said, which is PhoebeSaad. We're going to have Phoebe on as a guest. I'm going to be doing a quick interview with her so she can tell us about her new product here. And also, too, we'll have a link to that at the OppermanReport.com website. So welcome, Phoebe, to the Opperman Report. Now, boy, we got some show for you today. This thing is horrible. Our guest is Gil Harrington, and she is the mother of Morgan Harrington, okay, who was the most beautiful girl you've ever seen in your life. This beautiful young girl who was murdered horrifically by this creep who's in prison. Thank God for that. So it's going to be a difficult show. You know, this is a difficult topic to talk about, but it is important because Morgan has this great new foundation called SaveTheNextGirl.com. Okay, and you can go to SaveTheNextGirl.com and get a copy of this book, which is called Morgan Harrington, Murdered and Dead for Good. So, Mrs. Harrington, are you there?
I am here, Ed.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Well, I am grateful for the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, get the word out there. Yeah, tell us about yourself. Who is Gil Harrington?
I'm a mom. You know, I always lead with that. I'm Morgan's mom. We have another child, Alex, also. I am professionally, I'm a nurse. My background is in oncology. I don't work in the hospital any longer. My nursing practice now unfolds. I work with a medical team in Zambia, Africa, and I am the wound care team leader there, and we really are service engines. You know, that is really our direction as a family. Even our children really have always believed in giving back, and that's one reason that I am so pleased that even we were able to make Morgan's murder create much goodness in the world. I believe that is how you neutralize evil, is creating good from ashes.
Now, were you always that way? Were you always doing like this kind of work, helping others, service to others, like missionary type work, even before the death of your daughter?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So is this based on your faith, from your religious faith?
You know, it just seems like the best response to, you know, I'm not grounded in any, you know, particular flavor of religion, very much more non-denominational, but I do have a really strong and abiding belief that the direction of the world, God, the universe, is towards good, if you can allow it to be. I do think our fear and doubt get in our way sometimes, and we limit the trajectory and the goodness that is trying to arrive for us.
What a great outlook. Let me ask you a question. Alex, how old is Alex?
He is 30.
Oh, 30 years old. Okay, no, what is he doing? He works with you too in Zambia?
No, he actually lives in New York. He's a photo stylist in New York, and he, I believe that Morgan's murder has been the hardest on him. He is going to be the last guy standing with all the inside jokes and family information, and he lives in a tough town, but he is finding his way and flying. I do think it was very helpful for everyone in our family, kind of unexpectedly. The trial finished, in this case, for the Back-to-School Killer, finished on March 3rd last year. And having that end point really released a lot of psychic energy and effort that all of us, our triangulated family had felt. And both Dan, my husband, and Alex said, now, this piece is finished. We have taken justice for Morgan as far as we can. And it has given all of us a little more octane to be productive. And we are worker bees, so Lord, watch out. Things are going to be happening.
Well, that's great. And now, so the title of the book, Morgan Harrington, Murdered and Dead for Good, you can take that in two ways. So I'm assuming from hearing your attitude, you want good to come out of this.
Ed, is both. Morgan is dead and will always be dead. She will remain dead forever. She is dead for eternity. But her death has been the catalyst for a great deal of good. She had a short life. She was 20 years old when she was killed. And yet we have a foundation, Help Save the Next Girl, that we have more than 50 clubs and chapters that educate young people about personal safety. We've built a school in Africa where Morgan was not able to travel with me with the Omni medical team to Zambia, which she intended to do. But hundreds and hundreds of kids will be educated in her school building. And we have a scholarship at the medical school where her papa works and where she worked the summer before she was killed. So from dead, we have created much positive legacy, and not legacy like this is amplitude for her. It's good in the world. That's imperative for me to do, and that is how you neutralize evil.
Well, I tell you, you're an inspiration. You really are. I talk to a lot of I talk about a lot of tragic stories on here. And sometimes I just come away from it just devastated, like a little PTSD. I've been talking about lately. I've been having from some of these guests we have on here and these topics we cover. So you really are an inspiration to me. I got to thank you. Let me ask you this about Morgan. Tell me about Morgan, because I see some pictures of her here when she's a little girl. She's kissing her dad, And then the pictures, more recent ones, when she was about 20 years old, she has like a beautiful girl, but she's a little mischievous looking. You know what I mean? She has a little twinkle in her eye, like a little, kind of a handful. Tell me about Morgan.
Morgan was really talented. She was beautiful inside and out. Morgan was joyful. Morgan was like champagne. She was bubbly, and when she was around, it was a celebration. She had a lot of friends, and I think that's something that is painful for us, is that she had so darn much potential. And it's not just a loss for our family. She was going to do big things in the world. She was going to give back and make a difference. And we really have felt that part of our obligation as parents is to try and fulfill some of her potential because she won't be able to do it.
Right, you got to fill that in. Right, that makes that makes sense. That's a great way to deal with this. Because I got to tell you, I told you off the air, I got a 16-year-old daughter. The same thing. She's a debate team. She's going to be going to nationals. Like an impressive kid, and all her friends. I'm so impressed with these kids.
Right.
But I think if my God forbid, if something happened to my kid, I think I'd tell myself, I only have the one kid, or I'd go out there on a rampage and hunt this guy down and slaughter him. I don't know what I would do. So it's just what a blessing to have your attitude here to fill that in. You're right, to make up for that loss. That's just beautiful. What was she going to college for?
Actually, she had decided, she waffled on different things. She was a good artist, so she contemplated that. But she had decided to go into early childhood education and become a teacher. And that is one reason why us building a school in Africa made really perfect sense. Morgan had packed supplies for my Africa journeys for years, and really wanted to travel with me and see the places and the people that I had talked to her about. And she wanted to teach kids, and she will never teach kids, but in an unexpected way, she is the vector for more education for children happening than she would have been able to accomplish had she been able to live and become a teacher.
Isn't that ironic, that because of the exposure to her death, they bring life to so many.
That is dead for good. We have made good come from this. And I do like it as, for people to see it as an option. If from nothing, from dead, we have made this amount of goodness happen, what can you do if you have more? And the school in Africa, actually, I have to confess, came from not one of my prouder moments. I was sitting in our living room with the box of Morgan's ashes in there, and I was having a pity party and saying, people have weddings and grandchildren, and all I've got is this box of ashes. I got a box of dust. This is what I have. And it didn't take me too long to pull myself out of that mindset and say, you know what, pull your socks up, Jill. Ashes, even from ashes make cinder blocks. Cinder blocks can make buildings. We are going to build. And you know what? We're going to build a school in Africa for Morgan.
You must meet a lot of other mothers, and even you said yourself you were having a pity party. We were really down that one day, and you channeled it into something great. But you must meet other parents in the same situation, or other people are listening to this. People like me who would be thinking, I'll just kill myself, because I don't want to deal with this. What would you say to them? Do you meet people like that?
I meet a lot of people. I try and have met many victims' families, and everyone's story is a little bit different. But I do want to be a way shower that there are options. You can become embittered and soured, or you can rock in the corner, or you can find a way forward. And that's probably the trickiest one to do, but that is the one that you have to become new stuff. And we want what we had, but what we had will never be again, and other opportunities and blessings show up. And you can't just keep tipping them out of your hand because they're not what you used to have and what you want. You have to reconfigure. And I do want people to know that they can reconfigure. And having a murdered daughter, that's not going to happen to many people. I mean, that's a zebra. It doesn't happen, except rarely. But everyone will have loss. And I think people are looking for, desirous of tools to use to help them through whatever loss they will incur. And, life delivers loss to all of us. Everyone is going to have at least one up close and personal experience with death. And in our society, we don't have many opportunities of how to suffer.
Yeah, that is so true. Because I'm a private investigator too, so I have a lot of clients, and even families that are torn apart through divorce and custody and that kind of stuff, or have a family member goes away to prison for life. These drug charges and stuff like that. Just you run into so many tragic people's lives just turned upside down. Before I forget, I want to mention this website, findmorgan.com. I guess this was set up at the time when they were still hoping, and looking for Morgan. But there's some beautiful pictures on here of Morgan and her family, and there's like a video of from Help Save the Girl.
Help Save the Next Girl.
Help Save the Next. I'm staring right at it. You think I could read it? HelpSaveTheNextGirl.com. And also, too, there's the address where you can donate to this. They got a picture of the hospital in Zambia, and there's an address there you can write to and donate to. And there's a beautiful poem that I've shared with a couple of people today. It's really beautiful, written by Gil Harrington here, right on the front page of findmorgan.com. So check that, too, as well, besides HelpSaveTheNextGirl.com, where you can get the book. Morgan Harrington, Murdered and Dead for Good. Now, Gil, can you tell us what happened that day? I know she was going to a concert, but what happened? What happened?
Morgan went with some of her good friends who've been in and out of my house since they were kids to a concert in Charlottesville. They were trying to be responsible. They had a designated driver. They had been drinking, and they went to the concert. Morgan got up and went to the bathroom during the concert before Metallica came to the stage, and fell, we believe, on the stairs, and we believe had a concussion. She did have a depressed skull fracture on autopsy, and was disoriented, and ended up outside the arena and was refused re-entry, and turned out into the night and happened to intersect with a predator.
So it was just like happenstance that he happened to cross her, and just.
I think these events like concerts and college campuses are places where predators gather. Predators go where the prey is. That's what they do, and they're looking for moments of vulnerability. I don't know if you have followed this particular case, if you had seen, so Morgan was abducted and murdered in 2009. He had had several other rapes. He had a near murder in Fairfax, and then he ended up, he also abducted and murdered Hannah Graham in Charlottesville. That's what predators do, is they hang out in places where there are vulnerable kids and people and wait for an opportunity. It's a crime of opportunity.
Yeah, that Hannah Graham was another beautiful young girl, 18 years old, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. And this guy, you're right, he was involved in 2 rapes at colleges, one of them Liberty University. Was he going to study, like, ministry or something?
No, he was a football player.
Oh.
And, Ed, we have tried to respond to every layer of this that we do So Help Save the Next Girl really was a visceral, organic response that I knew that Morgan's shirt had been recovered in Charlottesville, and it was put maybe a month after her murder on a bush near the Fraternity Row in Charlottesville, Virginia. And I was irate. I said to law enforcement, you need to tell the community that this guy felt so comfortable. That he can put trophy out here, and you need to give this information over. And they said, no, we can't, because we want to protect it for the case. And I said, it's too late for my daughter. Help save the next girl. And we really, that was a huge motivation for us, that we knew that he would reoffend, and we were told most likely resolution for Morgan's case would be that a jogger or a hunter would find her body, or we would find forensics from the next person that he killed. And I mean, as a mother, something in me reared up, and I said, logically I understand, but I'm going to move heaven and earth to do everything in my power to stop him from killing the next girl.
It's amazing that when they found that T-shirt, someone had the presence of mind to see this and say, "Oh my God, this might be connected to this missing girl."
It was a very case specific. It was not just like a T-shirt that everybody would have. It was a vintage T-shirt. It was which is part of kind of the thumb in the eye to law enforcement, that it was the most identifiable item from the case. So that was being, broadcast most widely. Have you seen this T-shirt? Have you seen a girl in this T-shirt? And that's the one that he chose to display.
And what was his connection to that Fraternity Row?
I think it's just near where he lived, and there are 28,000 students that walk those streets, and he wanted everybody to know that was his turf.
Right, especially young girls that age would have been aware of this. So parents nagging them, "Hey, be careful, look at that girl,"
Right.
Right. Now, what about Metallica? Were they any help in all this when your daughter went missing?
Ed, Metallica was lovely, is lovely. They, it would have been very easy for them to distance themselves from this unfortunate event. 2 days after the concert, James Hetfield was calling our house to talk to Dan and say, as fathers, we are outraged. What can we do? They really have been lovely. The Metallica fan base were the first ones to generate missing posters for Morgan, because Morgan, her body was missing for 101 days. And they activated their social media. They made missing posters. They contributed to a reward fund. And in an ongoing way, Virginia Tech uses the Metallica Enter Sandman as their football entry music. And so there are Enter Sandman T-shirts that are sold through Virginia Tech, and Metallica said our part of those proceeds should be directed to Morgan Harrington Scholarship at the medical school. So they have really stepped forth as compassionate fathers and really been lovely to our family.
Now, that first day when she lost touch with her friends and stuff like that, how soon, was it that night you started panicking? Or did you think,
no, because we didn't expect her till the next day.
Okay.
We thought she would be rolling in. She was going to stay with her friends in Harrisonburg. spend the night, and then she was going to be here the next morning, and Dan was going to help her with some hard algebra stuff that she was doing, and also she had overdrawn her account, and he wanted to wrap her knuckles for that, but he said, I'm not going to do that today. We'll do that in the morning, because I don't want to lessen the joy that she had about going to this concert that she had looked forward to for so long. And she never came home. So, yeah, it was not until Sunday morning, the next morning, that actually Morgan's purse had been found in the parking lot, and the University of Virginia police contacted Dan and said, we have this lost item, and Dan said to me, they've called, and Morgan's purse was lost. And at that moment I knew, that's when the elevator went from top floor to ground, because no woman leaves her purse or loses her purse and there's not a crisis. If Morgan had lost her purse, she would have been on the phone with us saying, this is my debit card, there's this, we've got to change these things. It would not have been silence.
Gotcha. And you two were the first people she would call. She didn't have like a boyfriend or something like that. She would call you guys first.
Yeah, she was a homebody.
Okay. So then, you start panicking. What do you do? Do you drive over there? Do you call the police where you are locally? What'd you do?
We did. We called the police in Charlottesville and said, this is not just a lost item. Our daughter is missing, and I am grateful that they very quickly saw our vision of our daughter and did not. There was no delay of, she needs to be missing for 48 hours before you can call it in, or she just must be having a good time somewhere. Morgan had a lovely life, for 20 years, and then she had one hellacious bad evening. But they saw that you would run into Morgan's life. She was not a runaway. And so the concert was Saturday night. We reported her missing Sunday morning, and we were in Charlottesville with an open investigation of a missing girl on Monday morning.
Mm. And when, I guess, what did you do to participate in the investigation? How were you trying to help?
I think we could have been maybe a better utilized by Virginia State Police than we were. I think that I have come to know many law enforcement groups and know that each group has a different culture and kind of a different way. I would always was trying to, the best way that I can explain it is, I always go back to our medical background. 20 years ago, doctors were delivering babies, and the fathers were out in the hallways smoking cigars and wringing their hands. And today, fathers are in operating rooms tying umbilical cords, and they are not obstetricians, but they have a role in the process. I think that law enforcement needs to move into that kind of a context, that we are not, we never want to be investigators, but we have a role in the process, but they were not there yet. They are closer to being there than they were. It's been 7 years since Morgan was killed. And I think there is a more collaborative approach between victims' families and law enforcement now. But when Morgan was killed, they really wanted us just to back off and let them do their cop stuff. And we could not just relinquish that responsibility to them because we felt that we had a role. They said, you should leave through the back door and we'll handle the media. And we said, no. Who can make a more impassioned request from the community for information and tips than Morgan's families? We'll do this.
Did they always, right off the bat, think it was a stranger abduction, or did they suspect the close friends or anything like that?
No, I think, we have a lot of missing people here, missing young girls here in the central area of Virginia. I don't know if any other of the names are attributable to him. I don't know if it's just a cluster phenomena, or I think maybe it's an epidemic and it's happening everywhere. There are a lot of crimes that happen on college campuses. They're kind of, despite the fact that those occurrences are moved very quickly from center stage, because it looks better. I don't think that it is really untoward and unusual.
Yeah, I think that's the most risky place on the face of this earth for as far as young women getting raped is the college campus. Yeah, the statistics are horrific. I was just talking to my daughter about that in the car this morning. We're going to have to take a commercial break. We're here with Gil Harrington, the mother of Morgan Harrington. And she's the author of the book Morgan Harrington, Murdered and Dead for Good. Now, you can find that book at helpsavethenextgirl.com. And also, too, I was talking to Miss Harrington off the air. There's an event coming up on April 29th, Missing Persons Day. It's going to be the foundation of the Missing Persons Day in Virginia there. And she'll be telling us a little bit more about that when we get back. So we'll be right back with more of Gil Harrington, author of Morgan Harrington, Murdered and Dead for Good, right after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors. Did you know that 30% of all people on online dating websites and personal ads are either married or in a monogamous relationship? 30%. If you suspect that your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend may be cheating online, go to emailrevealer.com. And our online infidelity investigation. You give us their email address, and we can trace it back to online personal ads, dating sites, and social networks. We can even expand the investigation and find them cheating on escort service sites or even porn sites if they're registered to porn sites and swinger sites. So check out emailrevealer.com if you suspect your spouse is cheating, and check out our online infidelity investigation. William Ramsey is a producer here at the Opperman Report, and he's just come out with a new book, Children of the Beast, Aleister Crowley's Shadow Over Humanity. Now, he just sent me a copy of this book. Oh, boy, it's about 2 inches thick, and there's a chapter on just about everybody in this book that you can imagine. The Beatles and Jack Parsons, everybody's in here. It's incredible. And I definitely recommend this book. There's a bunch of pictures in here, too, of all these people in different chapters and information. Anton LaVey and people I've never heard of, too. There's a whole bunch in here. JFC Fuller. I don't know who he is. But it's great stuff by our producer here, William Ramsey. So check out Children of the Beast, Aleister Crowley's Shadow Over Humanity. You can find it on Amazon.com, or you could find it in the Opperman Report.com bookstore. We have an urgent bulletin. It seems that the group straw man is still on the loose. It has been confirmed that straw men are Canadian, okay, and that authorities are asking people to stay indoors, lock your doors and windows until this group can be dealt with. You could find more information about this group of Canadians, at strawmanmusic.com. You can have your ad played here. Okay, we're looking for sponsors. Okay, in fact, we desperately need sponsors right now to take this show to the next level. So you can have your your ad played here, read live, like I'm doing now, so artfully. Or we can even work up a little jingle for you with some music and stuff like that and play it here. You have no idea how inexpensive it would be to have your ad played on the Opperman Report on 7 stations live Friday night and another 7 stations live on Saturday night, plus replayed every day of the week on different stations, and then archived on YouTube, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and all different kinds of podcasts, Pod This and Podbean, all different kinds of places who archive the show for us. And on those archives, your ad would play indefinitely, forever. You also get a little banner on OppermanReport.com. You get a mention on the air, you get a little interview on the air, and all kinds of fun stuff if you sponsor Opperman Report. We have an opportunity to get this show on a major AM/FM station in California. We've been approved. So if you want to sponsor us into that, so incredibly inexpensive that your ad would be heard by the range covers 5 million people in population where your ad would be broadcast, and all these other stations would be thrown in for free. So really affordable prices to sponsor OppermanReport.com. Get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You can get a copy of that book at emailrevealer.com, or you can get a copy of that book now. It's back up on Amazon.com. How to Become a Successful Private Investigator by Ed Opperman. And this book has been updated a little bit from the previous book that we had that was available to our wonderful listeners. Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. We're here with Gil Harrington, mother of Morgan Harrington and author of the book Morgan Harrington, Murdered and Dead for Good. You can find that book at helpsavethenextgirl.com. So, Gil, you there?
I'm here, yes, sir.
Okay, great. And tell us about this thing on April 29th. Now, you guys were behind this. You got this thing passed. Missing Persons Day in Virginia?
Yeah, Ed, one of the things that I'm most proud of, perhaps because I think it is the most substantive response to Morgan's murder, is the legislative activism that we have had. And lordy, who in the heck ever thought that, me, mama, nurse, would become active and lobby in the General Assembly here in Virginia. But we have done many things that I feel really enhance the safety in our state. Early on, Dan lobbied to have familial DNA used as a forensic assay in Virginia. And at that point, we were the 3rd state to do that. People are wigged out when you start talking DNA because they think that Big Brother is going to sequence your entire genome and
you start cloning people, right?
Your secrets are all going to be out there, but actually, they just sequence a snippet of the DNA to identify you as an individual. And indeed, if familial DNA had been a tool in the hands of law enforcement when Morgan was killed, Jesse Matthews' father had been incarcerated for a felony conviction, and he would have been required to submit DNA. And we had un-DNA from Morgan's case, and it would have hit on his father's connection to him, and we would have found him before he went on to kill Morgan and Hannah. So we felt like there was a real need to use this capability. You know, I travel a lot internationally, and every border you go across, you leave your fingerprints. They do retinal scans. You come, Dulles, they're doing retinal scans. So these biometrics are being gathered at many, many different places. 20 years from now, we will laugh that there is any reservation. We probably are all going to have a barcode on our neck by that point. But that there has been resistance to this technology. We also did lobby for expansion of DNA databanks in Virginia so that first-degree misdemeanor conviction also would require DNA sample to be submitted to national databanks. And again, the states that have expanded the requirement for DNA submission have found it has really enhanced their ability to solve cases. For us personally, Jesse Matthew had done a grand larceny burglary, and if he had been required to submit DNA at that point, he would have pinged on his 2005 attempted murder and rape in Fairfax, and he would have been incarcerated for that instead of being free to go on to kill Morgan and Hannah. So we've done many things. The missing piece is a part that both Dan and I, it is horrific to have a murdered daughter. May I tell you, to have a missing daughter is way worse than that. Missing, it was the most agonizing, anguished part of the journey for us. Morgan was missing for 101 days. And, to ride and swing on the pendulum between hope and despair and not give up on your girl but brace for incoming, it is demoralizing and debilitating and really the hardest part of our journey. Yeah, I say there are no rituals for the missing. There's no Hallmark cards for the missing. You're just in limbo. And there are families that experience that pain for months and years and decades. In response to that, we have tried to support and extend to missing families here in Virginia. And yes, April 29th, the governor has declared it to be Missing Persons Day in Virginia, and we will hold events in Virginia to bring renewed attention to the more than 600 active missing persons cases in Virginia, many of which go back, 10, 20 years. Also, we will be able to offer family members the opportunity to submit familial DNA samples so that the 238 unidentified remains in Virginia, hopefully we can find some of them and reunite them with families.
Now, did Matthews become a suspect? First of all, let me ask you this. You said his father had been in prison, too. What was his father doing time for?
Sexual assault of a young girl.
Now, you know what? Did you know just last night they just arrested the son of Sandusky?
Yeah.
On the same type of charges, trying to solicit little girls over the internet and getting naked pictures of them and stuff like that. Incredible. So his father was also a sexual assault.
But interesting, Ed, I may be wrong on this, but I think that was an adopted child. It was not a biologic child.
Oh, no, I'm not saying it's biologic, but, like something's going on in that house is, the point I'm trying to make. Yeah. There's some kind of thing going on.
We have this discussion a lot, where does evil start? What is the genesis of evil?
Yeah.
Is it in your genes? You're going to be that way anyway. I think it's a choice. I think people choose. I know many people who have had horrific upbringings who have gone on to be upstanding contributors to society.
Yeah, and I've known many people too that started off, in a life of crime, and went and changed their life and did good later on, So,
right.
There's potential for anybody. Now, your daughter was missing for 101 days. Did they have this guy as a suspect before they found the remains?
They did not, and it's funny because so we went 5 years with nothing. We knew that there was a forensic link, a DNA link between Morgan's case and a attempted murder, rape, abduction in Fairfax from 2005. So we knew when we found him that we would know it was him, but we didn't know who he was and where he was. And I beat the drum really long and hard in Charlottesville and would say, everyone wants to think, well, maybe it was someone who was with the band, because that's a more convenient idea, that there's no problem here. Everything is good here.
Right.
It was something from outside and it's gone now. And I would say, this is a local boy. This is homegrown talent. And we had a sketch. We had a composite sketch that the woman in Fairfax had created. And I would say, look at this. If you are, getting coffee for a guy who looks like this, don't filter your thoughts. Just call police. Let police be the filter. And, as many times as I did that, we came to hear afterward, Jesse Matthews worked at a taxi, with a taxi group. And when anything in the news would come on about this case, they would tease him. They would say, that looks just like you. And he would storm out and be irate. Why didn't they call police instead of tease the guy? Why not call? That's what I was begging people to do. Do not be the filter. If you have any little intuition of anybody, call police. And indeed, when Jesse Matthews, before they had forensics on the Hannah Matthews case, the Hannah Graham case, someone sent us a picture of our sketch image and then Jesse Matthews superimposed, and it was uncanny. I said, we don't even need the DNA. This is the guy.
Well, and especially you're saying like his friends at the cab company, weren't they aware that he had to leave 2 colleges because of rape allegations? And he was even interviewed by the police in those colleges as well.
Yeah.
Whatever happened with that? Did you ever talk to those people?
Not so much, but we were able to be active in the initiative in Virginia for safe transfer, which is a requirement that if someone is sanctioned and kicked out of a college for sexual wrongdoing, that event will be reflected on their transcripts. It is lazy, and it is wrong for a academic institution, a school, to pass a kid along from 3rd grade to 4th grade who can't read and just hope that 4th grade will fix the problem. It is an entirely different thing for a college to pass along a sexual predator to the next college without letting them know what the problem is before he does the same thing in the next hunting ground. And we have plugged that flaw in the system here in Virginia now. We need to do it. This needs to be a national piece of legislation.
So we talked off the air, I believe it was, that one of the schools he went to was Liberty University, the Jerry Falwell University, and he was on a college scholarship, partial scholarship, perhaps.
Yeah, he was a football.
Yeah, football player. And he was accused, but not charged criminally. But he was sanctioned by the school.
Yeah, but you know what? At that point in time, typically they would make the girl go and keep the football player.
Right.
I will say that they got rid of the football player, but I think we can take it farther and not pass along your problems to an unsuspecting new feeding grounds for a predator. And we're trying to change that. You know, again, you can't be linear. You have to do all these things. You have to educate the young people. You have to do victim outreach and help families that have been impacted by these crimes. And you have to change legislation.
Yeah, I
it's
think
complicated.
That should be a no-brainer, you'd think. And we were talking, I believe we were talking off the air about how probably the most dangerous place in the world for a young woman is a college campus. You're more likely to get raped there than anywhere else. Anywhere, like, you know, you work in a strip club, you know, and you're more likely to get raped on a college campus, you know. Just outrageous. How did now they found your daughter's body, and then they were able to get DNA to pick up, or how did they pick up Matthew?
The DNA actually was on her shirt.
On the shirt.
The shirt that he draped, was on the shirt.
So then he hung himself.
Yeah, so maybe his grand gesture backfired.
Yeah. Okay, and what, he got picked up on some other charges and they tested him for DNA? Is that what happened?
No, I mean he was not found until he was a suspect after killing Hannah Graham, or abducting Hannah Graham, because he was seen on video surveillance. And it's interesting, if as an investigator you would like to go to, search up some of the video surveillance of Hannah Graham in Charlottesville, Virginia, downtown, that you really see kind of a predator drop his mask, that he's ambling along, and he's a big guy, very big guy, but everyone who knew him really said, well, he's just a gentle giant. Well, if you look at that guy ambling around on the downtown mall like Fat Albert, he went from Fat Albert to Cheetah in 3 steps once he saw Hannah Graham on the other side of the street. And he was over there. So that ambling, just gentle giant stuff, he dropped it real quick. You will love to look at this video and see, okay, now the predator is put down the mask because he sees the prey.
And that's available on YouTube?
Yeah.
And he spotted her because I think she was intoxicated. She had been drinking, right?
Correct.
Okay. So he spotted. Wow, he just spotted that and he just went right after. Oh, yeah, we're going to have to look at that. Okay, definitely. So now, okay, this guy's got 7 life sentences, right?
Yes.
How were you guys involved in that? Did the prosecutor consult with you on the plea deal?
You know, of course they did, and my motivation has always been to save the next girl. You know, Ed, you might think this is crazy. I don't hate him. I have no anger towards him. He is what he is. You know, if in my neighborhood, if there's a wild bear that's rampaging through the neighborhood, I don't hate it. It's doing what bears do. But that rampaging predator cannot be where humans are, because humans are not safe where he is. So he must be in a cage, and that's where he is. In this process, I mean, I have reached out to his mother.
Okay.
You know, I feel compassion for his family. You know, we are 7 years out from our daughter's murder, and there's not a time I go to the grocery store that several people don't, you know, come tootling around with their cart and hug me and kiss me and, you know, tell me we're thinking about you and Morgan and, you know, extend kindness and compassion and blessings to me. I feel terrible. His family is going around about their life, and every time they come around a corner in a grocery store, there's someone who is looking at them like you raised the monster, and looking at them with hate. And you know, that is an extension of the damage that Jesse Matthews has done. He has injured our family. He has injured Hannah Graham's family. He has injured RG's family, and he has injured his own family. He has brought, you know, the whole load of bricks down on everybody.
Have you been able to make contact with the mother?
I actually, not a great deal.
Yeah.
I did reach out to her after 2 of the trials. You know, I shook her hands and told her, you know, my condolences. I know this is difficult for your family, because I wanted her to know, you know, in the crazy kabuki dance that a trial is, when you are trying to read the tea leaves of what everyone in the room is doing and thinking, that I was not emanating any hatred towards her or her family.
And Jesse Matthew, his dad is still in prison, or his dad is out of prison, or dead?
Oh, his dad is long out. Yeah.
So his dad's walking around.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay. All right. I was hoping you promised me 1 hour, okay? But I was hoping we can get into this whole helpsavethenextgirl.com and give us tips and stuff like that. Because like I told you myself, I got a 16-year-old daughter myself, and even I was talking to a 19-year-old girl today who wants to listen to this show. Can you give me about another half hour?
Sure.
Oh, you sure it's no problem? Okay. And then let's take a commercial break right now. It'll be another 5-minute break, the same thing as last time. And we'll be back with Gil Harrington, the author of Morgan Harrington, Murdered and Dead for Good. And the website where you can get that book is, because you can't get it on Amazon yet, you can only go to helpsavethenextgirl.com. And that's also, too, we're going to be talking about that. But also, too, check out this findmorgan.com website, too, as well. That has an address and stuff like that where you could donate to this hospital in Zambia. And there's a beautiful poem on here. It's just beautiful. I'm going to read it after we finish the show. I'll read it later on tonight. And I'll promote this again, too, in the after show. So we'll be right back with more of Gil Harrington right after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors. Did you know that 30% of all people on online dating websites and personal ads are either married or in a monogamous relationship? 30%. If you suspect that your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend may be cheating online, go to emailrevealer.com. Our online infidelity investigation. You give us their email address, and we could trace it back to online personal ads, dating sites, and social networks. We can even expand the investigation and find them cheating on escort service sites or even porn sites if they're registered to porn sites and swinger sites. So check out emailrevealer.com if you suspect your spouse is cheating, and check out our online infidelity investigation. William Ramsey is a producer here at the Opperman Report, and he's just come out with a new book, Children of the Beast, Aleister Crowley's Shadow Over Humanity. Now, he just sent me a copy of this book. Oh boy, it's about 2 inches thick, and there's a chapter on just about everybody in this book that you can imagine. The Beatles, and Jack Parsons, everybody's in here. It's incredible. And I definitely recommend this book. There's a bunch of pictures in here, too, of all these people and different chapters and information. Anton LaVey and people I've never heard of, too. There's a whole bunch in here. JFC Fuller. I don't know who he is. But it's great stuff by our producer here, William Ramsey. So check out Children of the Beast, Aleister Crowley's Shadow Over Humanity. You can find it on Amazon.com, or you could find it in the Opperman Report .com bookstore. We have an urgent bulletin. It seems that the group Strawman is still on the loose. It has been confirmed that Strawman are Canadian, okay, and that authorities are asking people to stay indoors, lock your doors and windows until this group can be dealt with. You could find more information about this group of Canadians, at strawmanmusic.com. You can have your ad played here. Okay, we're looking for sponsors. Okay, in fact, we desperately need sponsors right now to take this show to the next level. So you can have your your ad played here, read live, like I'm doing now, so artfully. Or we can even work up a little jingle for you with some music and stuff like that and play it here. You have no idea how inexpensive it would be to have your ad played on the Opperman Report on 7 stations. Live Friday night, and another 7 stations live on Saturday night, plus replayed every day of the week on different stations, and then archived on YouTube, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and all different kinds of podcasts, Pod This and Podbean, all different kinds of places who archive the show for us. And on those archives, your ad would play indefinitely, forever. You also get a little banner on OppermanReport.com. You get a mention on the air. You get a little interview on the air, and all kinds of fun stuff if you sponsor Opperman Report. We have an opportunity to get this show on a major AM/FM station in California. We've been approved. So if you want to sponsor us into that, so incredibly inexpensive that your ad would be heard by a the range covers 5 million people in population where your ad would be broadcast, and all these other stations would be thrown in for free. So really affordable prices to sponsor OppermanReport.com. Get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You can get a copy of that book at emailrevealer.com, or you can get a copy of that book now. It's back up on Amazon.com. How to Become a Successful Private Investigator by Ed Opperman. And this book has been updated a little bit from the previous book that we had that was available to our wonderful listeners. Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. And this show is brought to you by our brand new sponsor here. By the way, I got the website wrong when I mentioned that before. It's mydcdsite.com. /Phoebe Said, S-A-A-D. But I'll have the link up on Facebook and on the Opperman Report Facebook page and OppermanReport.com and the blog and everything like that. We are here. Thank you so much for giving us some extra time with Gil Harrington, author of Morgan Harrington, Murdered and Dead for Good. And by the way, when you look this up, when it does finally get on Amazon, you want to look it up. She spells Jill with a G. It's G-I-L. Gil Harrington. And also check out the site findmorgan.com. There's that beautiful poem on there. There's some pictures of Morgan. There's a little video of helpsavethenextgirl.com, and there's the address and stuff for this Zambia hospital. Is it a hospital or a school?
Probably. I would suggest that helpsavethenextgirl.com, that website, would have even more in-depth, state-of-the-art information on the school and the medical mission in Africa. Yeah, we have taken the impact of this young girl's life all the way to the other side of the world, and we are squeezing goodness out of it. I think that maybe once we have gotten all the goodness that we can from it, that we'll be able to rest. But again, 7 years out, we are still, it's not searching for ways to further opportunities from her potential, but we're trying to keep up as fast as we can, because there's so much that she might have done that we're going to do in her place.
Well, yeah, well, God bless you for that, man. I tell you, it's so encouraging to hear your attitude and stuff. When people went out and bought the book, Morgan Harrington, Murdered and Dead for Good, what would they find in the book? Does it describe the investigation and the murder? Is it like a true crime book?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, it's not a true crime. Yeah.
It is not. It is not the true crime book, because I am not an investigator. I don't know that at all. And I was not privy to the investigation. It really is the grief journey, and I have done a whole lot of the grief work even prior to Morgan's murder, and that I can do in spades. And again, I think that journey, people are looking for the tools that they can apply to the losses that will show up in their own lives. Very few people will have daughters who are murdered by a serial killer, but everyone will have their own version of loss. And what do you do with it? How do you weave in that black stripe into the fabric of your life and come out as whole cloth? That's the task, and it's a tough one. But I think that people have said, if you can do it from where you started, then certainly I can do it from where I started. A dear friend of mine said, who has had some real catastrophic losses, said, Jill, everybody tells you there's no playbook for this. And he said, I get that. There's no playbook, but I think there are some plays, and I think that you have some of the best ones I've ever seen, and I want to know how to do it for myself.
When did you start writing the book? During how long ago?
A lot of the blog entries and stuff actually went back. I journal a lot, especially when things are chaotic in my life. It's a place of putting any angst down on paper, so you don't have to deal with it in your head. It's already attached to the paper. So I was, the day Morgan was missing, from the very first day, starting to write and attaching those feelings and fears and craziness onto the paper, so we could go to sleep at night, because every day, he would fall into bed and say, can we do this one more day? And because we were trying to engage with media to the fullest extent possible, because we were looking for tips that would lead to resolution of our daughter's missing case. And to do that, you had to be present and available, and we did, for everybody. And that's crazy. It really was tough to do, and it was something, we're pretty private people, we had never done before. And we would say at the end of every day, do you want to bug out on this? Or do you have one more day? Can you dig deep and can you do tomorrow? Can you commit to tomorrow? We will do tomorrow, and then tomorrow we can decide to bug out if we want. And we did that. We inched along, little by little, to find our way forward. To find justice. Not just justice is such an abstract, to find a killer. We found him. I really do believe that if we had not been so determined that we would, he'd still be out there.
Now, the statistics are when two husband and wife lose a child, the divorce rate after that is through the roof. Because so many things going on, emotional turmoil and blame and all kinds of guilt, everything, right? Were you brought closer together, or did you have those kind of problems as well?
We did not.
Okay, see that? Wow.
Again, I think it was, in some way, we were unusually equipped to deal with this. Dan is a physician, I'm a nurse, and with that as professional background, you really are used to putting your emotions on hold to accomplish the task at hand. So we were able to work really hard at what we were doing, and not let it erode our relationship. Yeah, I was determined from the very first day. I said, he hit us when we were asleep, and there's going to be no collateral damage that furthers from this. Our marriage is going to be successful. Our son is going to be okay. Nobody's going under the bus. He had one opportunity and he hit us bad, but we are not going to allow any, extension of damage. These crimes that happen, it's like when there's a burn, there's the tissue injury to a burn that happens from the fire, and then after the heat is on the tissue, then the injury to tissues extends. There's going to be no extension of damage to our family from initial injury. No, we're stopping it right here.
Excellent. You're able to compartmentalize.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Now,
you have to, if you're pumping on somebody's chest,
right,
you can't be thinking, I just saw his mama out in the waiting room and I feel so sad. You got a job to do, and that's what we did.
So now, we were talking off the air, and I was telling you I have a 16-year-old daughter, right? And I got to tell you, even when she just goes across the street, I get nervous, So in helpsavethenextgirl.com, how would you advise someone like me in my position? My daughter's, she's just starting to drive, and that kind of stuff. How do we keep our kids safe? What do we do?
Well, I'll tell you, one thing you do, and when we get off air, I do want you to give me your address because I want to send you this book, because you need to put a face on the suffering. You need to individuate the problem. It's really easy. It's really easy for people to turn their back on the suffering, starving kids in Africa. But if I bring you a picture of this one kid, named Benjamin, with his big belly full of worms and no shoes on his feet and his big eyes, people will say, well, I can't take care of all that, but I can take care of this. Your daughter will look at this book and say, I get this. This is not like the abstract of, things happen. This is like, damn, this could have been me. Morgan Harrington has become every young person's friend and every adult person's child. And, Help Save the Next Girl, the groups that we have in schools, they're not getting the message on high from parents. We have given them safety information since they were knee-high. They're getting it from one another and saying, hey, this is happening in my school. Maybe we ought to change this. It is becoming, it's like Mothers Against Drunk Driving. You know, it used to be, well, there's a certain non-statistically significant loss of life that's going to happen from people drinking too much. That's just the way it is. And Mother said, heck no, it doesn't have to be that way. And they changed the social culture around it. They changed the social mores, and then the laws followed in. Well, we are changing the social culture around sexual assault. It doesn't have to happen on college campuses, and it's not okay, and the girls were not asking for it, and it doesn't matter how they were dressed. So we are changing that, and we are changing the laws, and we are changing behaviors. And I think that the message comes better from kid to kid than from adult to kid, and we have activated that circuit. Have your daughter look at the Help Save the Next Girl website. There's a lot of content on there. Okay. A lot.
Yeah, I definitely will. And it does seem, because, you know, we were talking about this case, the Jeffrey Epstein case, this billionaire that was molesting little girls down there in Palm Beach, Florida. And she was in middle school at the time, you know, and he was recruiting these little girls from the school. And I said to her, I said, if something like this was going on in your school where some of these little girls were being recruited to go to this guy's house for $100, wouldn't that be like all over the school? Wouldn't everybody be talking about it? So it seems like, yeah, today in these schools, there is a lot more awareness. These kids are a lot more savvy than they were even 7 years ago. You know what I'm saying?
But there's more information, and there's also more places to get tripped up.
Yeah.
I think that there's also with kids going to school, I think that going away, like going to college, and that there's kind of a perfect storm that there's a group of young people, young women in a new environment. They don't really know the town. They don't have a core group of friends. So they're vulnerable, so they are prey. And then at the same time, you have guys, would-be perpetrators, predators, who for the first time are out from under the thumb of parental control, and they rage. And you put those two situations together in the same environment, and yeah, things happen, bad things happen.
Yeah, and there's adult men, too, you know, in their 30s and 40s who live in these college towns and for a reason, you know, and they prey on these local bars and watering holes with kids, you know, looking to see who they can pick up. They cab services, you know, that's one of the things they get involved in. You know, these are all typical, you know, symptoms for these predators, like you said. Oh, boy. Okay. So, let me ask you a question. Do you think there's anything I've forgotten to ask you that's important you want to get out?
Not really. I mean, I think that we've had a good conversation. There are many conversations to have about this problem because it's not linear. You know, it is. There are a lot of factors that go into creating the perfect storm where these crimes happen. But we can't just say it's too big and we walk away from it. Again, it is like Africa. One by one, we can save this one. I know that the work that we do through Help Save the Next Girl has saved lives. I know that the laws that we have changed here in Virginia, many of which should be national legislation. You know, I mean, safe transfer. Nobody should be able to commit sexual assault and it not be on their transcript. Your grades are on there. Let's send this information out there as well. In Virginia, we've required external reporting for sexual assaults. You know, college campuses are crazy, Ed, that they have their own
police,
law enforcement, and our system is based on equal representation under the law, unless you happen to be a college student. And if you are raped on one side of the street and it's on college ground, there's one set of consequences that come forth. If it's across the street and it's in the town, there's an entirely different set of consequences. The intention of the colleges is not investigative zeal. It is to limit the information. And that's not acceptable in Virginia anymore. The law, we changed the law. We required external reporting of felonies from college campuses. That's a freaking no-brainer.
Yeah.
How has that been allowed to be? That college campuses are like the Vatican with their own police force and their own laws in the midst of our country, where we send our children.
Yeah,
that's how it is.
One time I had to serve this college professor with some summons, court summons. And so before you could do that, you got to check in with the campus police. So, okay, fine. And I'm down there, checking in with the campus police like a fool. Every time I go to serve the guy, he's not there. Finally, I sneak on the campus, to serve the guy, and he's right there, So obviously they were tipping him off each time. Let me ask you a question, though. But besides campuses, college campuses, which is probably the number one most dangerous place for a young girl, what other kind of havens are there out there for this kind of victimization? Any ideas? I know the modeling industry is...
I think it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think, we have to look at our women, our girls as precious commodities instead of items. It's crazy. I go and I tell kids, vote with your wallets. My son is involved in the fashion industry in New York, and I said, I'm good with, sexy, but I'm not good with any image that subjugates women. Don't you ever participate with any of that. You're the torchbearer now. Your sister was killed. You cannot allow this. I tell groups that I talk to, vote with your wallet. Do not buy music that denigrates women. We got to turn this ocean liner that puts our young women as chattel, as something to manipulate. It's complicated. It's why we haven't gotten rid of the common cold, because it's not just hand washing. But it doesn't mean we've got to hand wash. We've got to take vitamin C. We've got to get enough sleep. We've got to do everything possible to change this festering epidemic of privation on half of the population.
It's systemic, It really is.
It is. But you can't just throw up your hands and say it's too big of a problem. You can still do what is in front of you, where you are planted. There is at least one small thing that you can do to nudge the ocean liner, and that's what we're doing.
Well, God bless you for that. I got to tell you, I really have to take my hat off to you. You've taken a horrible situation, and you really have done your best to turn it around for something good, and devoted your life to this. I can't tell you how impressed I am.
So Ed, yeah. I want to read you because I know we're kind of off now, but yeah. So the very end of the book. So I'm going to ruin the ending for you, but not really. Okay. Is nice. I really love it. It's one of my poems, which I also love my poems. So this is. You like this as a daddy. Okay. So this is a poem for you, my Morgan. 241, always mama. Finally, Morgan, promise fulfilled. We caught the guy who killed. Mogo, now you can go. Yes, dear. Loose the bonds that tether you here. Let your soul soar like it should. Morgan Harrington, dead for good. Fly, dragon dancer, baby girl, into the next world. Listen now, it's Morgan's song. Dear God, I want to grow like cicadas grow, getting so big, robust and stronger that my skin can't hold me in any longer, and I'll split at the seam of my back and climb out of my shell, swell. Though naked and frail, I won't fail. chrysalis, I want this, not forced to change by sadness and decay, no way. I want to burst forth into transformation in full, joyous, throbbing song, just like God made the cicada. That's the way, and I choose launch.
That is so beautiful.
That's what I love to think of her soul, just jumping out. And that's my image and heart holding of her. It's not the rot and the decay. It's that, she was done with this envelope and she's launching.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. What is the significance of 241?
Okay, so 241 means I love you too much, forever, and once beyond forever. Oh, and we always, you can't put on your kid a lunchbox, Mom loves you. but you could put, we do the dots, which is 2 dots, 4 dots, 1 dot, or we would put the numbers, and it's always been on the kids' cars, their lunchboxes, our luggage. It was the last thing Morgan said to me, because it becomes like family lingo. When you hang up the phone, you say 241, Mama. And she did. When she was getting ready to drive away to go to the concert, I walked her outside and she got in her car, and of course, Morgan being Morgan, she flipped down that little mirror and put her lipstick on and then leaned out the window and said, 241, Mama. And she drove away.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. I can't thank you enough for doing the show with me today. I'm going to send you my email address. I'm going to send you my address so you can mail me a copy of that book. And
I would love you to have it, Ed. And I really enjoyed speaking with you. It was fun. I felt like we had a nice connection, and I enjoyed the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, good night. Now I'll be plugging your thing after we hang up. So thank you so much, right. Gil Harrington. Good night.
Take care. Bye now.
Bye. Oh, boy. I tell you, as right there as we were just wrapping up, I see Eitan Pates and his conviction of the man who allegedly killed him. I'm going to be talking about that later on, too, because, Maury Terry's convinced that guy didn't do it. But Gil Harrington, I tell you, man, what a beautiful story. And when I was reading that poem on that Find Morgan site, my God, and she has a lot of poetry in it. It's a beautiful woman. I can't thank her enough for doing the show. Gil, Gil Harrington, the mother of Morgan Harrington. The book is Morgan Harrington, Murdered and Dead for Good. The website is helpsavethenextgirl.com, and you can check out all the stuff, too, with their hospital and their school they got over there in Zambia. I wonder how many of her emails get sent to spam, because she's been talking about a charity in Zambia, Probably about half of them vanish on there. Our new sponsor, one more time. Let's see if I can get this out. I'm working on this still, guys. I'm just reading this for the first time. Phoebe Said, which is, it's like an Arab name, I guess, Saad, is an independent chocolatier with Dove Chocolate Discoveries, which is a registered trademark of Mars Incorporated. Dove makes the finest silky smooth chocolate because the products start with the best cocoa beans, which are tested for quality and flavor by Mars technicians. Not Mars the planet. This is Mars the chocolate company, or the Mars chocolate bar family. They offer not just premium chocolates, but anything from sauces, spices, to brownie and cake mixes, and even coffee and martini mixes. Now, we love our martinis here at the Opperman Report. You know that. If you wish to treat yourself or someone you love to a sweet and tasty gift, then Dove Chocolate Discoveries is the brand for you. Now, please visit Phoebe's site. Phoebe is the one who, don't go to Dove Chocolate Discoveries. You got to go to Phoebe's site. She's the sponsor. She's the one supporting the show. She's our friend. Phoebe Said. I think that's how you pronounce it. mydcdsite.com/Phoebe Said. PhoebeSaad. Now, there's going to be a link to that on OppermanReport.com as soon as Sean gets around to it. And there's going to be a link to that on the blog, OppermanReportBlogspot.com. There's already links to that on Facebook. I'm even going to post it on Twitter for you, too. So you can follow all our little social media gathering places there. And if you can find, I don't know if she has a Facebook page, but she should definitely get one, because I know we can definitely generate a ton of Facebook pages on here. But that's our newest sponsor. mydcdsite.com/Phoebe Said. And welcome, Phoebe, and thank you so much for sponsoring the show for us here. It was a big help to us, especially this month. We had a really rotten month. Our wonderful, inspiring guest here is Gil Harrington. That's Gil Harrington. Morgan Harrington, murdered and dead for good. I don't know, man. I got to tell you, you know me. If something happened to my kid, I think I would just go in the total opposite direction. So God bless you, Gil Harrington. And the website is helpsavethenextgirl.com. What a mission there. Okay, guys, if you enjoy the show, don't forget oppermanreport.com. That's where you go. You become a member. You subscribe to the member section. There's additional content in there. There's all kinds of documents, videos, and all kinds of new shows you don't get anywhere else. We're running a special this month, $65, and you get 13 months, and I even give you a little bit the rest of this month too, 13 and a half months of membership. So you get extra time, and you get extra discount on the price, but you got to email me direct. You got to email me at oppermanreport@gmail.com. You got to email me, oppermanreport@gmail.com. And I'll send you a PayPal request. You give me your email address. It takes a little back and forth, going back and forth, because people love to talk to me as they're doing this process. And then they always make a mistake. Okay? They go to the wrong place and send the wrong amount. I tell you, it's insane how much. I try and make a couple of bucks here to pay the rent. And my God, these hoops we got to jump through to get this $65. It's amazing. They want to tell me their life story, then they can't. Oh, I can't find this. What is this, the right link? Oh, where's my password? Oh, it's in the email. Oh, let me go check over there. Oh, well, the email's coming from you. It's coming from Tiny Bit. The whole nightmare I got to go through. All right, guys. Tonight with the after show, I got a bunch of good stuff I'm going to be working on for you. I even talking about Ted Gunderson a bit. So I'll be talking to you right after these messages.